What's up, world? It's your boy, Mike Muse. I am so excited to be in conversation with my following guests. As you know, we love doing town halls here at the Mike Muse Show, and I am privileged every time, and I'm just honored every time a movie or a cast or entity wants to be in conversation with me, and more importantly, in conversation with you. And as you know, all too often, these town halls are never really about me. It's really, I look at myself as moderating what the actors or the cast wants to talk about. And so, as you know, the rules is this interview is only going to be as good as the guest, and it's only going to be as substantive as the guest. Whatever the guest brings, that's what you're going to get, audience. And if the guest doesn't bring anything, then at them on Twitter, at them on Instagram, because I can only do so much without good energy. Danny's already shooting shots already. Exactly, we'll shoot to him with the B-roll cut for Danny for the B-roll shot. But right now, we're going to mute his microphone because that's what I can do right now with the power of the mic. And in comes the director. I mean, this cast is hot. So let's just go for it because, listen, this is America. And by that, I have the incredible cast of Captain America, Brave New World. Give it up for them, everyone. Yeah. What's happening, everybody? You guys feeling good?
Oh, so good. It's a damn shame.
It's got to be feeling good. I want to give this a shout out really quick to Shira Haas because your fit is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm with the guys that put the suit on, that's all.
You are literally a badass on the screen and a badass in person.
Thank you so
Like, how do
much.
you define your agency? Because no one can pull up an all-brown suit with wide shoulder pads and crush it.
I think you can do it. I think you can crush it. I think it will look good on you.
So
I'm telling you.
How did you wake up this morning? You like, I'm in a brown kind of mood?
No, it was planned ahead.
Okay, yeah.
I have a great team, a great stylist, a great hair and makeup. That's like, I wish I could say it was spontaneous, but no, it was planned. It was planned, yeah.
Well, spontaneous, Danny woke up choosing violence today.
I'm only reading the room. I'm mirroring
Listen, Danny, I thought Falcon was going to be like this great guy, great character.
He's a good
but he's
guy.
kind of shady.
Wow.
Yeah. He chose violence.
He's a fighter, not a lover.
What kind of mood you wake up in today, Danny?
So tomorrow.
Right.
I just had a sip of some energy drink, and so I'm revving up.
Yeah. Yo, I love your energy, Danny. I really do. I appreciate banter. And the director in all black. Now, that is a mood and a choice, too, as well. With the leather band, that's a choice, too, as well. Talk to me about a leather wristband.
Look, this is New York City. I lived in New York for 16 years. Always repping all black. That's what I do.
That's the uniform, right?
That's the uniform, man. I got to come correct.
Well, Dr. Patrice Austin, you were all blue. You didn't get the memo, and you're here in Detroit, our audience member.
Captain America, baby.
Which leads me to my next guest, Captain America, Mr. Anthony Mackie. What's happening, Anthony?
What's up, doctor? How you doing?
Audience, I'm just going to get to it right now and pull the Band-Aid off. This is truly special, not just because all the other cast members are here, but Anthony Mackie and I have known each other for well over 2 decades now.
Yeah.
And I have known Anthony Mackie before you met him, world, and before he became the superhero. I had the chance to meet his big brother, who was a superhero to me and a superhero to so many black engineers when I was in college, Dr. Calvin Mackie, who is the most brilliant scientist and engineer that I've ever met in my life. And fun fact, he will always do keynote speeches when I was in college, and he would talk about his brother, Anthony Mackie, who was at Juilliard. And he would tell the stories about Anthony. And then finally I get to New York, and I said, "You're Anthony Mackie." And I was like, "Your brother speaks so highly of you." And I've been with Anthony ever since. So Anthony, I'm just so proud of your journey.
Thank you.
From where you were always destined for greatness. And I'm so excited the world gets the chance to see your brilliance and your greatness that you have. And it's an honor to be in conversation with you and to moderate you. When you met me, I was not doing this.
Right.
And so the fact that we're having this moment together is truly special and priceless.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's funny watching your growth as well, where we came from in the friendship that we've always had. Those milestone moments don't come cheap and they don't come lightly. Mm-hmm. So seeing your growth and your exponential evolution into where you are and who you are now is been beautiful, man.
Thank you, man.
Definitely.
And I am going to talk to you guys too as well. So don't feel worried about that.
No, but it's great to hear you too. So it's inspiring.
Yeah. It's truly special.
There'll never be another time like when we were in New York.
It won't.
Describe some of that. Give me some
those
stories.
was.
Yeah.
It
us a
was
scoop.
such a. It was a melting pot. It was like a gumbo of creative, instinctual culture, and there were so many places where you could go and hide away and discover people. There were so many people who were so like-minded, but yet so opposite that it was like, even today, I look back at all the people I met in the late 90s and early 2000s up to 2008 when I left in New York. And those people are the movers, shakers, the expediters of culture today.
They
like
really are.
everybody we used to hang with. So it's
it was very collaborative.
Very collaborative.
And like there were no sections. I think everyone now was siloed.
Right.
But we weren't siloed back then.
No.
Everyone blended well, no matter what you represented, what entity or identity you chose. We all was just together.
Yeah.
And to Anthony's point, the movers and shakers, and some of my closest friends I actually met in the nightclub. So back then, that's when everyone had budgets, right? And so you would have parties Monday through Thursday, 4 parties at a time, open bar, free food, gift bags. And those people actually became my best friends. And 2 of them are actually here today, Catrice Austin and Nicole January. I met them in the club. And so, in their credit, Catrice is dentist to the stars. She got Cardi B's teeth together. Cardi B raps about her. And Nicole January is one of the preeminent directors of advertising and consumer good products. But I started off, Anthony, you might remember her too as well. She was an au pair, folks.
Yeah.
And to see her go from that to where she is right now. And for me, that is the beauty of America. And I think, and particularly, Julius, you really captured America really well. And I thought for me, seeing Captain America at the time that I saw it couldn't have been more poignant. We're coming off the Super Bowl right now, and I was really reflective of Brad Pitt's opening monologue that I thought was beautiful. And I thought the role of that was to remind us who we are as Americans, right? And who we are as a democracy, right? And really the metaphor for the huddle. And then we end up seeing Kendrick Lamar's performance, which really represented what America is, right? And the defining, the melting pot, right? The beautiful tapestry of the flags like coming together. And then insert Captain America after I saw that. And I was like, what a beautiful way and a beautiful trilogy for me to experience America in this beautiful, dynamic way. Talk to us about how you chose to center America and to really define who America is through these moments of Captain America.
Well, it starts with Sam Wilson and it starts with the great Anthony Mackie. I was very interested in a story about empathy. I'm an immigrant. I moved to America when I was 10 years old. But my time in New York also overlapped a little bit with you guys. I interned for Spike Lee in 2002.
Oh, yes.
I have a very funny Mackie story I'll come back around to. And I've always felt this incredible sense of community and opportunity in America to have a life that I wouldn't have had anywhere else. So Sam Wilson being this guy who's not conventionally superpowered, who has this incredible compassion and empathy and desire to connect to people, that to me speaks to the best of who we are as Americans. And I wanted that to be the central theme of this story and this notion of seeing the good in each other. And I just love the fact that when you think about all the characters in this film, we've got an Israeli American, we've got somebody who is of Latin descent, who's Mexican American. We've got somebody who is from New Orleans.
Black.
You got a Nigerian.
What you is?
We are that tapestry. And each one of these characters in this story go through that journey of trying to see the best in each other. They're divided at certain moments, but they come together. And I just felt what a beautiful story to tell in a world that we are so siloed, in a world where we are so atomized by technology and where people exploit divisions for their profit. Movies are such a great way to unify people. And that theme was just really near and dear to my heart, my soul, and it's something that was so important to tell. And you can't tell the story, though, without a great cast. So it's, again, please, a kudos to this amazing group of people.
I want to lean in a little bit further to that because I love interviewing directors because I love the idea of choice and decisions. To go off exactly what you said, I was struck in the moment really early on in the film. And audience, I'm not giving any spoilers alert. This is super early in the film, so it's okay. The decision when Captain America goes to see Isaiah in Baltimore, and I'm really struck by the use of ante-up. I thought that transition was so well done. And then I was really struck by the decision points to have Jackie Robinson. I was struck to see Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I was struck to see Joe Lewis, I believe.
Jack Johnson.
Jack Johnson.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about those decision points and what were you framing?
I love the idea of people who transform culture, people who are first. And there's something so special about Sam Wilson being a first. So there's a way you can set a scene in a location like that, and it's just two people talking in a room. But then you want to use that space to visually tell story as well. These were transformative individuals who shaped culture, who broke barriers. And Mackie and Sam Wilson are breaking a massive barrier. Captain America has been on our screens since February 5th, 1944. 81 years, this character has captivated culture in this country and abroad. I think that's a very meaningful thing. But typically we've seen maybe one kind of experience be reflective of the American experience. And the idea that Anthony coming from New Orleans and giving himself over to Sam Wilson coming from New Orleans, and that experience can be a universal American experience and global experience is groundbreaking to me. And I wanted to have him sit in the pantheon of other groundbreakers like Joe Louis, like Jackie Robinson, and like Jack Johnson, first black heavyweight, integrated, professional baseball. Kareem, who, did so much incredible transformative work in culture at large, not just through basketball, to expand voices and to fight for, and religion as well, So those were all things. A movie is an accumulation of details, is what Francois Truffaut said. So I wanted to have as many details as possible in this film that spoke to the themes and what was transformative and exciting and celebratory to me.
Details goes to you, Anthony, because it's sticking in that scene. What I love before, I'm gonna go to the scene before. What I love about what you brought, and I'm gonna unpack a lot of what you brought, but in particular, you brought so much human emotion into it. And right in the beginning, you grounded the film to remind me that Captain America is an American. And Captain America isn't this mythical or mystical figure. I'll talk about how you define that early on, but your conversation, and I'm really curious about your choice of dialect and how you chose to keep it loose, but still chose to be rooted in the character of Captain America, in particular in that dynamic, in that conversation of you and Isaiah. Talk to me about that in the boxing room, because your choice of words, I was like, whoa. He's a real person, a real American.
Well, it's interesting to me because I've been saying since the beginning, Sam Wilson did not take the super soldier serum, so that makes him a regular guy. You have to remember, when we met him, this was just a brother going on a jog, and he bumped into Captain America. Yeah. He bumped into the guy he idolized, and when Steve Rogers got in trouble, he went to Sam Wilson. Because he could see that integrity, that humanity. He can see that how trustworthy of a person Sam Wilson was. So the idea for the character, for me, what I wanted to show and express was that Sam Wilson is every man, woman, and child's Captain America. And he's the best part of all of us. Because when I was a kid, I loved Superman, right? I had no idea Christopher Reeves was white. Yeah. I didn't think about Superman being white, but his character, his humanity, that was something I could emulate. That was something I could aspire to. So I ripped up a sheet and tied it around my neck and ran around the house like I was Superman. So it's not the idea of him having to look like me or him being me for me to want to express and appreciate the humanity of this character. It was just that he was a beautiful human being. He's the best part of what I want to grow up to be. So I can look at that person and see myself. So for Sam Wilson, Isaiah is that mentor. Isaiah is that person who has given him something to aspire to. You have this person who is mistreated, misused, and now he's finally getting recognized through this person who admires him. And the dialogue and the conversation between them is friendly banter, but also it comes from a place of empathy and understanding. Yeah. So that's what was for me what was most important with Sam Wilson, being a counselor. You have to be able to meet people where they are. Yeah. So it's just more so about meeting him where he was on his level and having that kind of understanding that means something.
And you felt that. it felt like an uncle-nephew dynamic,
100%.
right? It felt like this very cultural moment that I felt myself transpired into the world, and normally I don't feel myself transported into the world normally of superheroes, but that I did. And so Danny Ramirez, I'm going to come to you because to pick up what Anthony was saying about he wrapped, a sheet around his neck and he ran around the house like at Superman. I'm thinking about the scene that you and Anthony had. It's towards the end, but it's about the role and responsibility of a superhero, right? Is not only, you guys said something to paraphrase, not only to inspire, but to aspire, right? And I thought that was also too so Americana, right? Like this American dream. Talk to us about how you were feeling like in this moment in exchange between Falcon and Captain America with that mantra.
Yeah, well, to me, it was from day one on set, I realized that my job was going to be incredibly simple by just showing up and observing Anthony go through this process of becoming, like, of not becoming, he had become, of owning the Shield. And also, it's very unique to step into a world where someone had previously held that same mantle. And so I think it was an incredible privilege to show up every day and be led by Anthony and by Sam. And so it felt like a moment where art was imitating life and life imitating art, and just all I had to do was show up and learn every single day, and through that, understand the relationship of Joaquin Torres in that world was similar to mine where I was in my profession at that point. I was eager, and I am eager and ready. I'm very eager, please. No, and just like I was eager to prove that I could bring it, and I think in the same way I understood Joaquin, and in some ways, it made it so simple to just be like, show up on the day and learn that day, because every single day for Anthony was going to be different. And so what I was observing and the who I was aspiring to become and work with, he was going through different challenges every day. And so the lesson was always changing and evolving. And I think that's something that, I don't know, there's, they say like pressure creates diamonds, and I want to one day be a diamond, so I need some pressure. And some of that pressure is responsibility and being tasked with making decisions. And I think in the MCU, Joaquin's always like, Sam's been one of his heroes from day one, and so when you meet him on the show, and you get to work with one of your heroes, it's an immense privilege. So
I want to push back and expand a little bit about the word you keep using about simplicity. Because I've been seeing your work previous, and you make it sound as if you just came on and things were just so simple. But I think what gravitates me towards your character is how well you played simple. And playing simple isn't easy, because playing simple could come off as cheesy. But I thought you really held that idea of that character of being a novice when you're such a great thespian. So talk to us about that balance of having to play a novice but being an experienced actor.
Well, yeah, I guess I worded it incorrectly. I did a ton of work at home. Sorry.
No. This is metaphorical. I'm just using themes. This is themes.
No,
obviously, we know you did work. But.
Well, yeah, but it was. Sorry, yeah. No, I didn't just show up to set. What's my line?
What am I saying?
Yeah. What is it? No, I think because there is. It's meeting Joaquin where he was at and understanding where Sam was at when we met Sam. Sam was already way more mature. And the soul of Joaquin in the comics had this energy that I think gave me the freedom to be a fool. And I think there's sometimes when judgment comes into play, it's really tough to let loose and to make that grounded. And so understanding that difference and grounding it in that way of understanding like, all right, I know, and I sometimes am, the annoying voice in the room.
Yeah.
But I know where to rein it in, and it just made it really exciting to start arcing this character in the most intense way. Like, I'd love to see where he's at in 10 years.
Yeah.
But that's the stuff that excites me of seeing where he starts and going from novice to maybe expert one day. And
but I guess I'm asking Danny, not necessarily so much about the character, but you yourself in terms of the performance. That's what I'm asking about.
You yourself, not trying to take my job.
I'm not saying I'm trying to take your job. Right? No. I'm trying to get some. I think it's understanding where I fit within the team and what I have to bring to best service the story at hand. And I think that's what allows, like, really for myself to lean into playing this novice in the most grounded, simplest way.
Sure, I'm coming to you because you took me on a voyage with your character arc. And when I first met you on screen, I didn't like you because you came from my boy Anthony. I was like, no one talks to my boy Anthony. I was still personal. I still saw him as Anthony back in. I was like, who is she?
20 years friendship. I get that. All good.
I was like, who are you to talk to him like that? I was like, absolutely not, right? But then towards the end, I was like, I rock with her so cold, and then I see why you came for him, and I would have done the same thing in that way. But I want to focus on you a little bit because I just love when I see female badasses on screen. We don't see too often females being able just to kick ass. And wow, do you kick ass? And thank you for representing everyone who's under 5'8", including myself, because 5'8" and above is overrated. And so, talk to me how you thought about the role and really in agency coming in from a female's perspective, because that is something that we are monitoring right now in this country, right? Yes. About agency, identity, right? Belonging, meritocracy.
Yes, it's a dream, really. I want to say it's a dream, but it's bigger than a dream. I mean, really, just to be here, even in this room, and to talk about it, and to be in this movie, played next to these guys, and to play Ruth, like you said, she's an ex-Black widow. She works very close to the president. She's very, very, very loyal. Eyes on the ball, very loyal, very mission-oriented. That's why they're kind of like not getting along very much in the beginning, because Cap has his own ways, well, justly so, but she's very following orders, and she's very loyal. And this was a great responsibility to portray her and to bring this female voice. And I think she brings that. She's owning who she is. She's the female, and she's the closest to the president as well, but she's also part of the guys, and she has such a major and amazing part of the film that I'm very honored and happy to carry. And I think also she has this combination because she is super, super tough, like you said, and she's a true badass. Love this word. But at the same time, I think because of her past also, and because of where she comes from and who she is, she has a lot of understanding. There's one moment that she said, it's no spoiler, but she talks about people's ability to change, and the fact that we should see that and appreciate that. So I think because of her past, because of the fact she was ex-widow, because of where she grew up in, she also owns that. So I think that's also a very powerful thing that I try to bring, that this character is bringing. So,
Was there any thought or discussion, I'm curious, around your character of not explicitly identifying as a woman and talking about a woman being in that type of special forces?
Yeah, I mean, we can discuss. I mean, yeah.
I mean, look, sometimes the best way to be is to simply be and show up. And what I loved about Cher from the very beginning, when remember our very first Zoom, you knew, I just 5 minutes in the conversation, it's like, okay, cool. She's there, she's present, she's tough, she's smart, and always so prepared and thoughtful. And that, dovetailed so well with Ruth as well in the movie. And to your point, to the point of the question, I thought it would be more powerful. We all thought it would be more powerful to let her be and go on that journey and surprise you when you meet her first, and she's going at Sam, and she You can cuss. She takes him down. You know what I'm saying?
Which I was mad.
Yeah, which I was happy about. It was nice to knock Mackie down a peg for a second. But then when you see the other layers of her and the way that you see that sense of warmth, that sense of humor, that sense of purpose that Shira brings to it, that's what I love. And you come to love her without it being asked for or without her having to say, well, this is who I am and this is what my identity. She just is, and she just, and that goes back to what you were saying about that early New York, where it was just this incredible tapestry, and I tasted that in my years in New York.
Whoa, take it easy.
Whoa, it was delicious. It was in that melting pot, you have a stew.
Called it a stew.
America. And I
hate
tasted
Captain
America.
America sometimes. Captain America's annoying at times. He is. Yeah.
But I thought it was beautiful that she could be in the movie and be somebody that we love.
The reason why I highlighted that, and I have to always give attribution to this individual. His name is Robert Battle, and he used to be the creative director of the Alvin Ailey Dance Company. And I was in a conversation with him, and I asked him a question, and I said, "Do you feel pressure to create dance narratives on the stage that relates to the Black diaspora?" And he said, "No, Mike." He said, "Because having Black bodies on stage is a revolutionary act unto itself, right? And so sometimes you don't have to overstate what doesn't need to be stated." Right. And that's why I wanted to be in conversation with you, Shira.
Also, another amazing thing that Julius gave to us, I think, in the beginning was like he put a lot of energy and spot to the rhythm of things. We got some references that he was like recommended for us to watch. We had conversations because, I mean, he really appreciated us all as individuals, but also he put a lot on the ensemble and on having like the same language in acting and in the way we see the script and also the way we serve Captain America's story. So it was really about this togetherness as well in being like this ensemble in all the aspects, which I really, really appreciate.
And another thing was really great. All these characters you usually have characters in a movie that'll go on this journey down their storyline and fall off. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You usually have characters that'll get forgotten about midway through the movie or in the third act. All of these characters have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Right. Yeah. I think it's really amazing how you come in one way. That's when you start to recognize the error of your ways. You accept that and acknowledge the fact, and then change. Like that says a lot about that character, that she's smart enough and willing enough to accept that challenge of doing something different than what her first thought was. Yeah. Instead of, I'm going to be bad the whole movie. It's really a three-dimensional person and a three-dimensional, very bad, three-dimensional person as opposed to a character.
I'm getting a buzz saying, cut this off before you spoil too much.
But isn't that the beauty, audience, of what this film is asking us about what America is and who we are, right? And giving each other the grace, right? And the freedom to evolve and to change. I think they put it so well in the title with Brave New World. That actually takes bravery, right? To admit and to want to change and to want to see different in others or yourself. And I think, Anthony, by you saying that really encapsulates exactly what one of the theses is, which is many an audience. I know some of you who may not be into any of this emotional construct of American democracy, so I'm going to get to the action because this film, I have a wide audience, so I have to serve multiple purposes. This audience movie is action from beginning to end. It isn't just about emotion and humans, but it is beautifully so well woven into the story, to which now I want to be in conversation with you, Julius and Anthony, because I admit this publicly all the time. I hate fight scenes and I hate car scenes because the fight scenes last way too damn long. And after 15 minutes, in the first 10 minutes of the film, I'm like, I get it. Everyone's going to survive, right? So like, there's nothing new to see. And the fight scenes last way too long, particularly the first 30 minutes of the film. I'm like, the main character isn't going to be killed right now, so let's just cut this short. I thought that you guys did such a fantastic job with every single fight scene, and I mean that earnestly. Usually if I'm interviewing movies that have a lot of fight scene, I ignore that topic, but I actually want to lean into this because I thought the fighting actually told the story. And what I loved about the fighting telling the story was the fighting reminded me of just two regular people, or you, Anthony, as a regular person fighting somebody. I was like, I could see myself in a more fit day doing that. But I think, can we talk a little bit about how you guys designed the fight scenes? Because Anthony, when you opened up and you kicked so much ass, but you did it in, I think I can see that on MMA, or I think I can see that like on the streets, right?
Right.
And for me, that helped tell the story of like, oh, this is a regular human.
Well, it's funny because we get on set and Julius is like, I just want him to hit somebody with a brick. It's like, what? He goes over to the brick and he's like, I want this to hit him, and I want him to do it. Yeah. So everybody's like, a brick.
What is wrong with this man?
He was so excited about this brick, dude, that we had to work the brick into the fight scene because, you know, as Julius always said every day, he's like, you know, Sam doesn't have the serum. So he has to be scrappy. Like he has to figure out ways to deflect and beat all of these other guys because it's not like he's coming in. There are actual consequences to him entering a room. And so he has to figure out and manipulate the situation so that he can fight off all these people. And I think it worked out really well. I think when you see the scrappy nature of the way he interacts and fights and you know, I have this stuntman, David Warren, who is obsessed with flipping.
Yes.
Like, he literally, this dude, anytime it's fighting, like, I'm in it. But he's like, I need my 2 times to shine. So it's like, okay, every fight, he's like, shine moment. All right, back to you. You know, and it's really amazing to watch him work because it adds so much to Sam in the suit.
Like in that moment, like you flipped and did a rotation. I don't even know the terminology. But you did a rotational spiral round off kick or something like that twice, and it seemed believable. Right. It literally did. Now if you did it 3 times, I'm like, okay, superhero. 2 times,
but it tells the
Simone
story.
Biles. I'm like, it's possible, right?
Yeah.
It's possible.
It tells the story of the upgrade of the suit. So now we you know, because of the work that I've done with the Wakandans have, you know, took in my suit and redeveloped it and re-ultrasized it to where I have the most powerful suit that I've had in the history of the character. So now the suit interacts and acts with me. So now my fighting style has changed because the suit enhances my fighting style. So now I'm able to jump higher, flip higher, kick harder, do all this stuff, use the suit in a way to where it's a part of me as opposed to something I put on to protect me or fly with. So you
crushed it.
Go
a little bit further, Julius, about how you designed the fight scene.
I love that you asked this question because it's something we put a lot of thought into, and it really also, again, started with each one of these characters and the work and preparation that they did, but I wanted action to be character. I hate it when you watch one of these movies and it's like, okay, drama scene, and then fight, and then other drama scene. So with every single one, there just needed to be a detail like the one Mackie said about the brick, and that you're telling the story of this man who has to improvise in these difficult situations, but that's what makes him heroic, because what he's doing is a capacity that we all have, right? Or even a detail like that flip kick that you're talking about that's integral to their emotional relationship, because it's something that this guy wants to learn from this guy so that one day he can take his job. You know, and then likewise, I'm so proud of, I don't want to spoil too much of the movie, but a sequence in the middle of the film with Shira where I remember when we worked with her amazing stunt double, and I was like, okay, great, I guess, you know, the stunt, we ended up using pretty much most of Shira, that entire sequence, but again, it's telling you so much about this character and how she's able to hold her own against whatever expectation you might have of her. So each time the action is moving forward character, or the action is an illustration of the character's dilemmas. So there's an amazing aerial sequence where these 2 guys are flying. For those who are big-time action fans in the MCU, it's the first time we've got 2 winged heroes. But the whole point of that sequence is, will the man, Thaddeus Ross, at the center of this, come to a moment of honest human reflection and acceptance? That is what that sequence is about. And the final action in the movie, too, is about that. So they're always hinging on character questions. And I love that ultimately the final set piece of this movie is not a battle over will the universe be destroyed. It is a bet and a battle over one human's capacity to change.
Well, let's go there because that I love that scene. I was going to talk about that scene, and it does talk about storytelling, so we can still stick into the genre of fighting. Don't worry, audience, I'm not going to get emo on you. This is still action. It's blood. It's guns. It's explosions. It's nuclear. It's It's all those things. But I love that fight scene, that aerial scene. That shit blew me away, and I was like, oh, I could live here a little bit longer because it was so multi-dimensional, right? It was air, it was water, it was land. Again, all the things I could see in a theater of war, right? And I thought that's what made it so good. But Danny, talk to me a little bit because I thought in that action scene, and I'm not going to give a spoiler alert away, but it really shows the how Falcon was such a novice, right? And this battle to want it now, right? And sometimes the consequences of not having patience.
Yeah, well, I think if you don't try, you won't succeed. And so in the same way, like, I think there's Ooh, this is one to talk without spoilers. This is
yeah. Do your best, but to go to the human emotion condition. Well, we already know it's a fight scene. So. Yeah.
Everything I'm about to say is an actual spoiler. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, a lot of action, a lot of high flying chaos.
Lots of blood, lots of guts. Well, Julius, I think you can answer it then. Because what I'm really getting to is I felt like the entire time of this movie, there was this push-pull tension that we all have within ourselves, right? Like, the typical phrase of like, it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? Like those who sprint flame out, right? Like those who see it for the marathon withstand, right? So then talk to me a little bit about that dueling dynamic of the human condition that we have and how you use that through fight scenes.
It was one of the things that was very exciting for me in telling this story, this notion of, Joaquin seeing a version of who he could be in Sam. These are two people who are military men. These are two people who are people of color. These are two people who are proud Americans who have sacrificed. These are us. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, and we've all felt it, especially anybody, you felt it, we've all talked about it, you want it so bad, you can taste it. I'm talking about tasting it.
Good.
And maybe you're not ready for it. Sometimes the moment has to meet you. Yeah. And I was very interested in that. And it also had something to do with Sam's history with his wingmen. When we first met Sam in Winter Soldier, he had this history with Riley. That is part of the reason I think he was also a caregiver, that he became this counselor. And he had, obviously, some really powerful relationships with, Steve Rogers and also with Bucky Barnes. And now that relationship evolves with Joaquin Torres. Mm-hmm. So he has seen what it's like to want to be there and then to get there, and seen in somebody else that desire we all have to want to get there. And I thought that was a powerful dynamic for them. If one relationship is uncle-nephew, this is big brother, little brother.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it was also important, even in that sequence, that Joaquin is reminding him, I want to learn that move, I want to learn that move. He's so hungry to impress.
Yes. That eager beaver.
Exactly.
You get cut short. Yeah. You get there in 10 years.
I get the question now.
So that is to your point. That's when action becomes interesting, because it's not just action to do cool stuff. It's action that is moving this character forward as he's trying to aspire to be the best person he can be and live up to his hero.
Bro, that's why I'm trying to give you guys the props, because these fight scenes tell a story. Yeah. And usually I always say music is a secondary character, and I always say landscape is a tertiary character. But I also, too, after watching this film and another film previously, I'm actually going to start bringing up fight sequences as a storyteller, because some directors just don't get it. And Shira, I see you nodding, and I want to know, why are you nodding? Because you seem very emphatic about what Julius was saying. What is he saying? What are you connecting to that he is saying?
I was really moved to hear him talk about it, and I really, it connected a lot of things, because I saw the film for the first time, the whole thing, like 2 weeks ago only, and then again, of course, in the premiere, and now that he says it, I really see it, and I'm like, I also think when we did my fighting moments, no spoilers, right, but we put a lot of like, I don't know, a lot of about her speed, for example. What's special for her, for Ruth? What's reliable that will be her strength? So we put a lot on her speed, we put a lot of thoughts on how she fights, how she does that, to really bring it to the character. And you will not be disappointed. She's a true badass. She's incredible. But we really tried to make it her own, which I think, now hearing him talking about the other scenes as well, I have a lot of appreciation, because everything kind of like comes together in this film, which I think it's pretty brilliant. Yeah.
I love indirect acting.
Yeah.
I think that's also, too, a trait of a great actor. And so I kind of want to lean in a little bit to where you're at. And so we don't have to do spoilers, but there's a scene in the hallway where you're getting prepared to fight, and kind of going to what Anthony was talking about, making you all like regular people. Yep. There was a moment that I normally see in other action superhero movies where that person's just ready to fight as soon as they wake up at any given moment and can kill 10,000 people with their bare hand, which is not believable, which is why I hate fight scenes. But with you, there was a moment in the hallway where you saw a large number of people, and you kind of had like, fuck, here we go.
Yeah.
Right? And for me, I thought that was so powerful how you did it. It was a very split-second moment. Talked about your approach in that hallway scene, without giving away spoilers, but talk to me about your approach, because your indirect acting is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't think this very tiny moment, I don't think it was scripted, but it was part of our conversation.
We talked about that.
Oh, I'm picking up on a lot of stuff
Yeah,
there.
we're picking on a lot. No,
I'm good.
you know.
I give a different town hall.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
ask the
Try
basic
to-
questions.
Yeah.
Tell me about your character. Right?
Thank you for that, by the
Yeah.
way.
How'd you get the role? Where were you when you got called?
You're roasting everybody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I take shots, baby.
Wait, who chose violence this morning?
Oh, I choose one today. Yeah.
No, but listen, this character is just like she's a trained. She can choose to go this way all the time, but she doesn't. She works for the government. She can kick us every scene if needed, but she chooses her battles literally, right? And chooses how to use her power. I think also because of her past. Another thing that we discussed. So yeah, everything has kind of a thought.
Well, cheers to you.
Why
I
not?
do love that
Thank
you asked that question because
Yeah.
one of the things that's so great about working with Shira is how precise she is. And like, we'll do a take and she's like, nah. We're going again,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm like, but no, I think we got it. No, and then she'll add a little extra nuance.
Yeah.
And even in that moment, we had like 6 or 7 great options to pick from, and it was about just finding the right one that told the story, and that's the reason you're asking that question.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and it's a real testament to her. And I always say this. You're making a big action spectacle, blah, 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 blah. But for me, the best visual effect is an actor's face.
It is.
Because it conveys so much nuance
yes.
and detail that is spontaneous and beautiful and raw.
And bro, and Anthony, you helped face, bro. Like the way you
yeah.
did your emotions was on your face. Like I felt like you brought so much humanity, like in every single scene with your scene partners. The only time, and this is a fact, Catrice and Nicole has come to every town hall that I've had, and I don't say this, and Catrice can attest this often about people, but I feel like the only time I've said this is with Denzel Washington, who brings out the best in their scene partners. And what you brought out in every interaction that you had with Isaiah was so moving to me. The end scene where you're with Danny, I thought that was so powerful. And so I just wanted to just acknowledge that part.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
But so I want to go back to my other part of my audience who loves America. So now this is the America part of the conversation, folks. Your use of the big vehicles, the big GMC trucks, the Hummers, those who smell gas as an aphrodisiac. I told y'all it's all in here, right? And so talk to us about, because I also too thought, and I'm glad that you said how actors show in their face. And Anthony, I want to talk about how you related to those vehicles because it seemed very organic for you. So I'm going to come to you with that. But Julius, if you can talk to us about how I felt you organically integrated. Obviously, you have to do it. I mean, I'm assuming product integration. I don't want to go too far with it, so you got to get the money. But it seemed so organic with it. Talk to us how you thought about the natural integration and really the choice of the Hummer and really the choice of the GMC, because that's going to tee me up to science next.
Yeah, I mean, you're always thinking about how does this movie feel as cohesive as possible. You know, you don't want these things to stick out in a way that aren't authentic. And I got to give a lot of credit to the team at Marvel, the producing partners on this, Nate Moore, Kiana Davidson, Jillian Henry, and the great Kevin Feige and Lou Esposito.
He's so dope. What up,
I
Kevin?
mean, you know, what
I
up,
met him
Kevin?
once.
These are very
Cast
smart,
me, Kevin. I
thoughtful,
don't act, but I want to do an interview scene.
thoughtful people. So even when we're integrating stuff like that, we're always talking about how do we make sure this feels reflective of the texture and the tone of the movie, of the characters. And I also just love the idea of the masculinity of Sam, the toughness of Sam, the earthiness of Sam. So these vehicles became a way to be an extension of that. And then again, I'm just always trying to think where's an unusual place to put a camera. And I love that even when we went into some of our moments where things might blow up, you could put the camera in the car in an unexpected place, maybe in a truck bed, and then it creates a moment, and it's not like, oh, this thing's just, it's telling story, right? So again, you're always just thinking, how do we tell the story? How do we reflect the characters? So I'm glad you bring that up, because we were thinking very much so, because they're the ones using it, Sam and Joaquin. But even the moments too, when Russo around those cars, like, how do we just make sure these feel like things these people would use and would help tell us the story?
How did you engage with the car, Anthony? Because I thought you, again, to what I'm asking, you did a really good job. And
I tried to break it because they didn't give me one, and I'm like, I'm gonna break your car. It was no, I'm a firm believer in if somebody give you a toy, play with it. And in this movie, all the toys and gadgets we have, all the stuff that we've been given is very practical. It's very everyday. It's something that you would have. It's something that you would have. It's something we all have. So how do we get the most out of that? You know what I mean? Some of us weren't so. Some of us, when getting behind the wheel, it was a little scary for the rest of us.
I would instantly put my seatbelt on.
I don't know who you're talking about.
There was a fun aspect of it where these are practical cars that you can steal out of somebody's driveway or drive off the lot with, and I think that furthermore influenced the idea of Sam Wilson and Captain America being every man's Captain America. He's a dude who just left his house, who found a Hummer, who came out to the woods to make it happen.
Yeah. Like, no lie, the reason why I said gas is aphrodisiac, I had a caller call up to the Mike Muse show one day, and I was talking about clean energy emissions and stuff. And I was like, would you ever go to an electric vehicle?
No gas
and he was just like, he called me up, and he's from Detroit, I'm from Michigan. And he said, no, Mike, I'll never get an electric vehicle. He said, because for me, gas is an aphrodisiac. And I've never forgot that phone call. Right?
I was talking to my dude CJ today. So I just did this jump with the 58th Airborne out of Nellis Air Force Base, right? So we got to jump out of a C-130, which is insane. If you ever in an airplane and half of the airplane opens up in the sky, it is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so
nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
They open up the back of the plane. I'm with the 58th. It's amazing, and it's just this tinge of like. I don't know what the stuff that and he was telling me is what they clean the plane with, and nothing on earth has ever smelled like this to me before. But when you're sitting on a plane, it's, what is that sweetness that I'm smelling?
Yeah.
But it's just like you can't beat it. Those little things, those little smells I love it, man.
Every guy's eyes in here is mesmerized right now at the sweet talk of oil and gas.
I build cars. I build classic cars.
America.
I have seven cars. And if anybody who build cars, they know when your carburetor goes out, it is a situation that you cannot refrain from being covered in gas and oil.
The highlight of my childhood was helping my dad change the oil filter in our cars. And by that, I just unscrewed the lug nut and put the filter in, screwed it back in.
You're small enough to get under the car. Unscrew that.
Yeah, you couldn't tell me I wasn't doing something.
I don't want to ruin the moment, but it was an electric vehicle, by the way.
What? No, the truck wasn't. My truck wasn't.
Oh, your truck wasn't.
No,
okay,
the
Hummer
one.
was.
My truck wasn't.
Violence, Danny. Violence.
I was like, what are you talking about?
I'm pretty sure it was electric. The Hummer was electric. That's why I tried to break it. So we didn't have to drive it anymore.
But definitely shout out to electric vehicles, clean energy, climate. Mike Muse supports the Paris Accord, not Captain America. I support the climate. I love a good EV, right? Like we need to.
Somebody's angling for a Hummer.
Yeah, we need to save America and all those fun climate things. Danny, I love you guys. I could talk to you guys all day, but I do have a couple more questions, and so I hope Marco isn't too mad at me. I'm sure she's pacing somewhere around here going crazy, like if Mike does not shut up. Marco, please give me 5 more minutes if possible. Disney cast member privilege, all the Disney people. Danny, I want to come to you now because you're going to help me lean into science. Just for FYI, you guys all talking to a scientist. If you forgot my opener about I'm an engineer. Nuclear chemical researcher for 5 years, flex. And so, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hit you over the head with that one. But Danny, I love your role, your character, I should say, his role into, because it's not heavy science, but there is some highlights with science in here. And I felt like your character made it palatable. And there was something about your curiosity and naivete that made you discussing science very interesting. Talk to me about the approach with that.
Well, so I thought that exposition really I truly despise. And so much of it, I try to lean into this person is living this truly on his day to day. And so this isn't key points that I got to hit for anyone outside of just Sam. And when I allowed it to just be communication in regards to making sure that we got what needed to be done, it was there was a freedom in throwing so much of that away. And also I went to engineering school for a year. I used to build computers when I was a little kid. I knew I liked you, David. Love tech.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the the seed of where this Joaquin Torres lived in, because in the comics he was obviously a hybrid human bird. Here there was in trying to figure out what his skill sets were that he brought to the table, and outside of physicality and intelligence and wit and charm and good looks, we're trying to figure out. This is all Anthony humility. Said this, and humility and his humbleness,
non-existent.
Look, I'm eager to please. Man.
It's a marathon, Danny, not a sprint.
You can sprint through it. You can set a world record. Why not? You can go sub 2 hours. People have done it. Nike has a whole camp to do it. But there's like just trying to add all these skills that he could continue trying to acquire, and there's so much of it in the film that I think it's trying to figure out who's going to be able to take out spoilers. Yeah. And so it was in packing up as much ammo and ammunition to be able to fight.
So I'm going to end with Shira, but in respect of time, I want to just talk with you just really quickly, Margot. This is the last question that I have. Regarding, what I loved about this film was how much geopolitics was involved. I thought, number one, I thought you did a fantastic job with that. Number two, I want to ask you, because what I love about this is that it's so close to current events, but still allows escapism. I hate watching movies and documentaries that are as if I'm just watching the news yesterday. I don't mind being asked questions to consider, but I still need to feel like it's escapism.
And remember, we shot this 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So
before
for
all
it
of
to
this,
be so timely,
yeah,
it's not like we went back in and was like, let's.
We
shot this 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We went through a snowstorm, 2 strikes.
Yeah.
We went through vacation, 2 summers. It was a while.
And so I want you, Jonah, to talk to me a little bit about, Julie, talk to me a little bit about, I was flipping through, there are no questions here. These are just themes that I want to pull upon. Audience knows that. Pick in any order that you like how you balance that delicacy, reality versus escapism, because not too many directors can do that. I don't like, it's too much on the nose, and a lot of Americans don't like watching too many films about that. The second thing is I've been examining a lot this year through different academic discourse regarding the idea of sovereignty. And what I love that you hit on, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I was in a colloquium recently, and we were discussing who owns Mars, right? And the alienable rights of Mars, right? And there are data that supports that we have seen life on Mars based upon water. So if there's water there, human life, there's some type of existence. Yeah. And so because there is some existence, who then does it belong to, right? And I feel like, without giving anything away, that there's something about sovereignty that's in here, and a resource that's being fought over, that's asking the question of who owns it. So if you could talk to me about, and as we close, team, that delicate balance of reality versus escapism, and then the question of sovereignty that you're asking.
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of reality versus escapism, first and foremost, you want to tell and make a movie that is a big, exciting entertainment. This is the first big event movie of 2025, and that was something that, as this date got picked, was really in the back of my head, even as we were finishing the movie. But nonetheless, there's emotional truths and documentary truths. And I didn't want to approach this as, well, we are making documentary truths. It wants to feel authentic. But it doesn't mean that it is a one-to-one with the world we live in. But what is always going to be a one-to-one is the emotional truth, right? Whether the elements are fantastic or grounded, the emotional truth, I think, trumps all. So I really wanted to lean into that, and that's why that theme of empathy was important. And if you ground the audience in that emotional truth from the beginning of the story, you can take them almost anywhere. So that was how I went about trying to find that balance, leaning into the emotional truths of all these characters. We did rehearsal for about 2 weeks before we started shooting, because I wanted them to know themselves, know their characters, know each other, know me, and then you guys get to experience that on screen. in terms of the sovereignty of it all, that's also a very interesting question. And that's why, again, this theme of empathy was so important to me, right? If we can see ourselves in each other when a resource becomes available, we see how it benefits all of us. But if we work through a single-minded or closed-minded point of view, it will end up dividing us and hurting us in the long run. So whether it's a resource like the one in the movie or another space where biology exists and maybe human life could continue, that shared sense of humanity and shared sense of responsibility to each other, the moral obligation we have to each other, is what I think is paramount. And it's also what I love so much about storytelling and why I wanted to be a filmmaker.
That's beautiful. Sure, I said last word, Margot hates me. This in one word, what does Captain America, what is this movie of? What one word comes to mind as we close?
In one word? Damn. That's not the word.
Maybe
I think Julius just said it. I think it is empathy. And if I can say a sentence after that.
Margot's going to get mad.
It's about Captain America, our very new Captain America, the first film at least. And he has a military experience, super strong, super impressive. But at the same time, his super strength is really his heart. So I think that's the superhero we really need. And I think Mac is doing it brilliantly. And really, you should all just watch it and agree with me. So.
Yes, good.
Ladies and gentlemen, Captain America, A Brave New World.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. That was awesome.
Thank you, Mike. This is wonderful.
Thank you so much.